Hi, on Media Dialogues today, I'm talking about the Hindi movies. Barring a handful of films that includes dubbed versions of southern language blockbusters, the Hindi film industry has been on a loss-making spree. There seems to be no pent-up demand here, despite the near 2-year closure of cinemas. A ruthless box office has rejected big-budget productions, superstars, reputed producers and talented directors. So you've got to be particularly brave to release a Hindi movie today. Ad industry veteran and prolific filmmaker R Balki has never been short on guts. His 6th film as director-writer, Chup, The Revenge of the Artist, has just released. It's a mystery about a serial killer bumping off film critics. Yes, you heard that right. To talk about his film and what the industry can do to boost its flagging revenues, I'm joined by Balki and his co-writer on Chup, the film critic and writer Raja Sen. I'm not a film critic, so I thought I'd put that out there.
Right.
So I'm not on any hit list, right?
Never know.
Well, there could be a part 2. Oh, that's good. Fair warning, Balki. But listen, what an intriguing promo. And, you know, when I saw it, I was like, we've got to talk about this, especially, you know, given also the context of the film business today. Where did it come from? How did you... What is it this story is trying to do, Balki?
Very early on in my life, in fact, after my first film, Chini Kam, which was released in 2007, like any first film maker, I thought I'd made a good film. Everybody thinks he's made a good film. Nobody thinks he's made a bad film. So I'm very happy. And those days, you know, I didn't know what the industry and how it works. You run to read the review of the most important reviewer in those days. And I did it too. And he trashed me. He had kind of said all kinds of things which make no sense. But they were cruel. And I was quite depressed. And a lot of people, including Raja, said some wonderful things about it. But when your first thing that you read is something so bad, and you've been wanting to read that stuff, it does send you into a kind of a depression. And I was. And from that particular day till the time we started writing for Chup, I'd never read anything written about me, because it's not out of anger or arrogance, but out of fear. Because you are damaged at one point, and you don't, except the ones that are sent to you, which will always be very good. It's nice to read. So the idea happened to me in that point of time. In fact, I told Amitji at that point in time, we should do one thing. Why? You should bump them off. Kind of do that. You should just go into ruthless. He was laughing. He laughed it off. I had one simple point. I said, if I am accountable to you and you're rating me, who's rating you? Because you can do anything wrong and get away with it. You're not accountable. You suddenly, this job of responsibility of, you know, helping cinema and grow and, you know, making people choose the right kind of cinema suddenly become a position of power. And people were using it left, right and center to kind of, almost, it was a kind of an intellectual blackmail about, I can do this to your film. That's a kind of, not that a lot of people did that, but definitely there is a zone in the industry.
Raja, what is your take on the fact that filmmakers are happy with positive reviews but question the credentials of critics, influencers, opinion makers every time the review is bad?
I think the influencers, opinion makers in the media today are, there are many that, you know, that do not have credentials in that sense. There are, you know, we have YouTubers and TikTokers and everyone has an opinion now. And it's easy to opine on cinema. And sometimes, you know, people who live tweet movies, it's a ghastly practice, but it happens. So there are a lot of people out there just, you know, mouthing off on the movies. And I think, yes, they have their right to, but they also need to be questioned and people need to understand where something's coming from. We're in a misinformation time. So at that point of time, even though opinion is opinion, it's coming with a lot of agendas sometimes. You know, it's coming just to be noticed. Like when you're talking about movies that have, you know, there are reviewers who write very positive things just to make it to the hoardings. Similarly, there are reviewers who write very negative things just to be noticed by other reviewers, you know, just to try and make a name for themselves because of how brutal they are or how savage they are. So I think the intent should be questioned. It's not, we're not against critics. We're just saying that criticism itself could do with some criticism.
Will you go back to reviewing movies after writing a movie?
I don't think so, not on a full-time basis. I write about, you know, television shows and occasionally films that have really touched me. You know, I don't.
But not a weekly.
Not the weekly
this
grind.
week, this,
no,
you know,
I've
so many stars. You've given that up.
I did that for 15 years, and I thought the films aren't getting too much better and I'm getting older. So
Films aren't getting better, Balki. Your co-writer doesn't have a big vote of confidence for Hindi cinema, nor does the audience, from what we can see.
I think that's why he wanted to make a better film.
How does it feel to release a movie in this context where, you know, you've had big budget films falling by the wayside? People just seem to be rejecting things, and there could be many things at work here, including, you know, the cost of tickets, the cost of the outing, the fact that every movie is available to me on streaming very, very quickly, within a month sometimes. What is going on?
I'll tell you, I think some way, I think this whole lockdown and the streaming experience that people have had is actually going to correct a lot of things in cinema. Of course, it's very obvious that if the content is bad or of the film is bad, people are not going to come and watch it. People can smell a film. But I think even if they smell a film and find it's good, people are not coming into the theatre as easily as they used to come before. And the data is there for you to see. Films may be collecting a lot more, but the footfalls have only been decreasing year on year and year on year. That shows you. By increasing the price of tickets, you can't keep our cinema alive. Cinema is a mass medium. And therefore, I think this Friday, the initiative that was announced of the $75 tickets, you can see the marked difference.
Tell me more about that initiative.
It's almost making the footfall, it has multiplied the footfalls by 4. I mean, into 4. Like, 100 people go, 400 people are going on Friday. Okay? Which means the ticket price is a huge barrier for people to go into cinema, because it is a mass medium. A lot of people are going with a family, cannot afford that kind of money. So I think a correction will happen. And in the South, you know, you're seeing a lot more cinema going. The footfalls are a lot more than anywhere else because the ticket prices are controlled. And that should teach us a few things about how to induce people to come to the theatre, especially when they have a free experience at home. I mean, and they want to go out. You can't pay this much of a difference when I'm getting it free versus $400 per person. Just a bit
So
too
the kind
much.
of investments that leading multiplex chains, let's say like PVR and Inox, are making in terms of a very 5-star experience, in terms of the ambience, the technical seats which give you mimic the thrills on screen, the food, all of that. When you see those kind of investments, do you think that's ill-advised? Do you think it would just work better to have good cinemas, but you don't need 5-star experiences and lower prices?
Absolutely. I believe that the more you price a ticket for less, but get more people in, you'll actually make a lot more money. Because the business depends on more people coming into the theatres. The business does not mean, suppose I make $1,000 versus 3 people coming, with 3 people coming to the theatre versus $1,000 with 10 people coming to the theatre. The 10 people are going to keep coming to the theatre. Okay? And that's going to help you a lot. And suppose the movie is good. The 10 people are going to go and tell another 30 people. Your word of mouth is increasing. So the wisdom is in actually, I mean, a bad movie, nothing can save it. Whether it's even free, nothing can save it. But if a good film comes in, the wisdom is in kind of lowering the ticket price.
What would you say among the many reasons that people have been throwing up in trying to analyze why movies have had a bad run? A lot of Hindi movies have had a bad run so far this year at the box office. What would you?
I think the bar has gone up for content. I think people have gotten used to watching good content in multiple languages at home. They've learned how to read subtitles. Everyone in India is watching all kinds of films and
the
content.
Exposure is
better. And
more.
I think they're not, you know, the optimistic critic in me would say that they're getting past that idea of just going to a film because XYZ actor is in it. You know, because that I think was dictating a lot of the economics of our industry, that so-and-so actor will give the movie an opening, so let's, you know, pay everything to that actor and make that film work. But if that's beginning to falter, if people are, you know, going by a trailer they find interesting or content that they're genuinely attracted to for whatever reason, then that will force a rethink in that direction.
Taking off from what Raja said, do you see that sort of getting reworked, re-looked at and, you know, going down as a result of this analysis? Is that happening?
Yeah, it's disproportionate right now. I mean, it's just way off the mark. You can't make movies like that. I mean, producers won't even, invest in a business like this. You know, if you're going to make all the money, one person's going to make all the money and the rest of them. This business is about a lot of people making money.
Yeah.
This business is not about one person making money.
But haven't stars sort of started taking that back end, you know, the share in the profits, turning co-producers? Hasn't that become a template where the really big stars are concerned?
Yeah, but you know, because the business is a bit dicey, and a lot of stars sometimes it was like that in the middle. Now you can see the shift happening to, okay, I'm willing to kind of work with other. You can see the shift happening because everybody got into production.
Yeah.
Every big star said, I'll produce my own movies.
And then they realized
the shift is happening right now.
But is rationalization happening of star fees?
I don't know whether it's really happening, but the talk is very big about it happening. So it's bound to happen. I mean, it's unavoidable.
Okay, what was this free screening that you did for audiences?
So we decided that before the critics watch the film, which is the norm always, there's a critic screening and then but this is so much about the critics. So we thought, why don't we give the audiences the first taste of Chup? So there was a free screening in 10 cities.
Okay.
And audiences saw the film and reacted to the film, and this was very organic and very exciting for all these fans, and they all, you know, it was sold out on Book My Show. It's not sold out, but booked out in Book My Show in 10 minutes. And yeah, people seem to like it, and that gave us a lot of confidence ahead of dealing with the critics and the industry.
No, more importantly, actually, the idea was to kind of have unfiltered opinions. You know, not colored by anybody's opinion, not colored by, it's not bought reviews, it's not kind of paid for reviews, you're not some arbit people tweeting. It's real live audience who've kind of scrambled to book the tickets. It sold out in 10 minutes. 3,300 tickets across the country sold out in 10 minutes. Across 10 cities. So people were there, eager to see the film, and they wrote their own reviews on a board that was there, and they tweeted, they posted without anybody talking to them.
Right. And if they posted things that they didn't like, how would you react?
Absolutely fine.
Because at the end of the day, each audience is also a critic, right? And an influencer.
The audience has every right to decide what they want to say. My problem with certain critics, and I'm not saying, like in any profession, there are good people and bad people. The cops, the politicians, everybody. We always color some professions as one. No, and I'm talking of the people who don't do their job in any profession, just like this. What happens is, when the critics write something, the critics have paid to do a certain job, okay? What is the payment that you have? Your responsibility is towards, I'm going to see a film, and my job is not to trash it and say bakwas and this and this. I'm supposed to guide the audience to see a film in a certain way, or to kind of explore things they haven't seen, or to kind of correct a few things. This is not right about this stuff.
But isn't the critic's job also to just tell me whether I'm going to waste my time and money on something, given that I'm so time and money starved these days?
Of course it is. Of course, 101% it is. But a critic's job also is about, if I stop making films, there's no critic. Okay. Critic's job also is to preserve cinema and not trash the people who are making it. Okay. But if the critic is going to tell people, don't watch the film or watch it, you're wasting your time. What if he's wrong? He's influencing a lot of people. An audience can influence anybody it wants, but this is a paid job. Okay, there is no accountability. If you're wrong and you end up influencing a lot of people, you actually hurt somebody else's life. Where is their accountability? A lot of good critics have that accountability, understand the responsibility on both sides, to the viewer and not deceive the viewer, to the makers, that if they do something wrong, it will cause a lot of harm to people who are kind of making the film, who've spent so many 2 years.
Did you think like this when you were at the peak of your career as a film critic?
I think the idea was that any sort of opinion, when you're putting it out there, it's an informed opinion, it's an analysis of a kind. You don't want it to be the be-all, end-all. It's not a statement. It should open up a dialogue. Like the best responses to any review for me have always been, thoughtful disagreements or conversation starters. That you want your review to be a conversation starter, not a closer, not something that's damning a film. That's not the idea. We're all trying to find something interesting out there. And yes, I've been known for, harsh reviews or something. But it's not that one's not trying to go out there to slam something. You're trying to go out there to find something new and interesting. And then sometimes, yes, you think that you should hold up cinema to a different standard or a higher standard. So you are crueler to certain films. But I think the point is, like producers used to, some popular film producers used to joke that, if Raja gives it 1 or 2 stars, the film will do very well. So I think that's also the idea, that you develop a covenant with your audience.
Yeah.
Wherein they know, like there are some critics I know that I will always disagree with. So if they like a film, I know that I won't like it. And vice versa. So there are, people you will agree with. So I think you're with your reader, when you're writing over a period of time, you develop a certain connection, and they figure out what you're saying. And the reasons I'm laying out for not liking a film have to be out there very clearly. So
you've got to be able to justify the reasons.
100%.
But what do you make of Balki saying that critics are accountable to no one? They get paid by their employers.
Right.
They write for the audience. Some of them have a sense of power which they misuse. Is that would you agree that is the way critics function normally?
Some.
Yeah,
Some.
and also I think that...
But enough for you to make a film, Balki, and produce a film on
I would
this?
say enough, yeah. More
See,
than
because what happens is now that we're seeing, because this race for eyeballs, when I started, there were maybe 10 or 15 prominent national film critics writing in English, and I became one of those people and, was noticed at an early age. But I'm seeing now that there are a lot of, younger people, a lot of people who have...
I mean, if you want to start your career as a content creator,
Right.
to talk about the movies is the easiest way to get started,
it's
isn't
a soft
it?
target. They come in and they, come in guns blazing and say something mean about an actor or an actress, and they're noticed. Or, there are reviewers on YouTube who will swear about the film.
I hear this, and at the same time, Balki, you make something and you put it out there, a service, a product, whatever, a movie falls in the same category. You want my
Absolutely.
time and you want my money,
Absolutely.
right? If you don't have a product or a service that works for me, I'm going to say it. Why should it hurt you?
I will tell you. It's not about, I don't
And
want you
would
to
this
like
apply
me.
to other industries?
Every industry, and it starts with advertising. I don't want you to like me. Okay, please don't like anything that I do. But there's a way you kind of say things. There's a civilized conversation that you need to have. My fight with these reviews have been right through advertising days. I used to tell these guys who used to do this Bekar best kind of ads, remember, in those days. And I remember some of the top ads, they used to say Bekar, and I've called that whole team to my office and I say, how can you call this thing? It's going to work. No, we don't like it as a team. The same team comes to me at the end of the year and wants to say that we voted it as the best ad of the year. I said, how do you guys do this? That's not us. That's the audience has voted this as the best ad for the year, and we voted this as Bekar. Now, I don't get it unless somebody is deceiving you, unless somebody is kind of, really giving you a bad quality product and kind of giving you this stuff. Of course, Ripple Mart, you kind of, gypped me for this chamber. But if it's a flaw, or it can be better, there's a way to do it. But what happens is it's not as intellectual, as pure as this. There's a lot of, what I say in plain words, there's a lot of corruption in this entire business. There are agendas, there are kind of fixings, there are kind of, favoritisms done in all these things. So it's being pulled in various directions. So when media or people who are going to shape opinions are going to be influenced or can be influenced themselves, it's a very dangerous trend.
Did the theme come first or the story come first? The revenge of the artist?
No, the theme, of course, the thought was always there. But then very quickly to get a story is very simple. So I had a semblance of a story of this kind of thing, basically a killer and romantic. I like to work unusual thoughts in formats which are usual.
Yeah.
Which is
Shamitab.
yeah, it just makes new thoughts palatable.
Yeah.
Rather than saying new thoughts newly is a different kind of thing. Though this film has got a little bit more than that. So, but when I met Raja, I didn't want to be the guy who was a critic basher, because they are also human beings. Now, I wanted to not to be a biased kind. It's not a film. Of course, it's by a filmmaker, but the voice shouldn't be of.
It was not Balki's revenge on film critics.
It was, but I didn't want it to be fully that. I also wanted. It's almost from the critic's voice to tell me where I'm going wrong in my thought. It's not that filmmakers may have a lot of passion. Filmmakers may curse. Filmmakers may do a lot of things, but they are human beings. Where is the flaw in this whole thing? What am I not thinking right? So when Raja and I were chatting and we were just doing that, we wanted to balance things out. It so happened, like Raja said, that he was, saying, no, we should push it a little bit more on the critics. And I was saying, no, we should push it more on the, against the filmmakers. So it evolved into a film. It was no longer anybody taking sides.
But it's also a mystery, isn't it? There's a murder mystery that's...
It's not an anti-critic film. I think that we should be clear on that. It's questioning critics, just the way we question, like the way critics question filmmakers for doing better. It's also us trying to figure out if critics can do better or should they.
Pen, Jayantilal Gada, the late Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, these are all people who are producers. You produced the film. Was it easy to sell this film to a producer?
I don't sell. I make.
That's true.
You can't sell a film. You can't sell a film.
I mean, you know what I mean. To raise the money
Why
for
do you
this,
produce
Balki.
it? No, it's like, I think you...
I mean, you probably have an easier time of raising money, but I'm just saying you have to raise money
I
for
don't
a
have
film.
an easier time to make money. I've just been lucky. And I'll tell you what the luck is. The luck is, I remember when we started our own production, it was in English for English, and we were pitching it to so many people and nobody wanted to back it. From the biggest names, they said, no, Sridevi's come back, we can't afford this. And I believe the film had to be made. And that's when I remembered meeting Rakesh Jhunjhunwala at some point in time, and I just asked him. He wanted to collaborate on something long back, and I said, Rakesh, here's a chance. He said, done. He didn't even know what the subject was, what it was. I think sometimes people bet on people.
Yeah.
They don't bet on subjects. And when you're betting on people, you should also know what kind of a person that person is. So when he takes a lateral subject, he knows he's not going to make a single penny out of my films because it's foolish for him to invest in the film. He can make a lot more money on that. But he invests, he also knows he won't lose money on my films. He'll be safe on my films. I'll take care of his money. And the second more important thing is something interesting will be done with that money. So that much he knows. And you also always need to work with people who are passionate about, want to gain something from this kind of filmmaking. It's not just about making money, like Jayantilal Gada. You know, people just think he's a money-making machine, and he does that. No. I mean, he's one of the most lateral guys I've met. I mean, he may have his sense of humor is phenomenal, and his phenomenal take on weird subjects. You know, you may not understand it, but the interest of anybody who invests in films finally is about, I want to make an interesting film and make
I'm
money.
saying just if you go with a single line, this is a murder mystery thriller where a serial killer is bumping off film critics. to pitch that, to raise the money was not a hard sell because you're saying people who you reached out to trust you and what you do with your
Not
movies.
just that. It's always films and subjects and a cast. If your economics are right for a subject, if I do this film for 55 crores, then nobody's going to buy this film. But if I do it with the correct budget, correct kind of thing, yes, at least you won't lose. My only consideration while making a film is the person who's investing shouldn't lose a penny. How much he makes is not in my hands. I do not promise a thing. All I ensure is you will not lose your money. That's it.
Raja, very quickly, are you looking forward to reading reviews of the film?
Very much so.
Have you read any?
I've been looking at them on Twitter. My favorite line so far has been some fans coming out of the theatre saying sunny days are here again.
Oh, okay.
So I think the dual fans are happy. But really looking forward to all the analysis because I feel like this is a film that will polarize people. People will come out of it. I've heard friends, my wife thought it's a very pro-critic film. I have friends who are saying, oh my God, it's so virulently anti-critic. So I think it's going to be interesting to see everyone's perspective. It's a film about disagreement. So I think it'll be fun to see that.
Okay, Balki, you know, we talked about how the Hindi film industry seems to be having a bad run at the box office. We also know that the Hindi film industry, Indian cinema, you know, when you extend that further, has been symbolic of India's soft power, you know, contributes to the Indian brand. What would you advise if film producers, the Film Producers Guild came to you, the industry came to you saying, you're the ad guy, you get communicating ideas, you know, effectively. What would you say this industry needs to do and to communicate? Also because there's been a lot of talk of corruption, etc., nepotism, and that's a small social media storm, but it has had some chatter, created chatter.
I think those are all, you know, chatters in a lot of ways. But
I'm not saying that it influences the you know, the box office outcome of a film, but I'm saying, given all of this, what would you advise the film industry to do to shore up flagging revenues? Because, you know, it seems to be in a bad place right now.
I really think, you know, there has to be, you know, rules, just not like we have union rules for the light people, for the sound people, for cameramen, everything. There are rules out there, but there needs to be far bigger than that. And what I believe in is, firstly, starting from the beginning, I think the government must understand the power of the film industry. Okay, it has to be supported. You know, there has to be like states that are supporting that kind of a thing. It's really worked in those states, like take a thing like Tamil Nadu. It backs cinema. It believes cinema is almost an essential commodity for this thing, for people. And I think it's important to recognize that, support this industry, have ceilings on prices for people to go and enjoy cinema.
Yeah. You're very unequivocal about ticket prices being a big barrier.
You cannot have this stuff, and the government must support multiplexes, must support theatres so that they can afford this, because theatres are also not able to afford this kind of thing. So it's a multi-chain kind of a thing. And also, I just believe this whole thing of like the Telugu industry is doing a fabulous thing. They're trying to put ceiling on actors' prices and things like that. I think a lot of those things have to come in where the effort is, a lot of people end up making money. A lot of people's livelihoods are protected, just not once. Of course, we are a democratic system, and may the best person win. But there should be support for an industry as important to this, because I think whatever India campaign that you do, you may do in Incredible India, your biggest image driver for India is cinema. Okay, you cannot get away from that. And if you're doing so little for the biggest image driver in this country, then we're doing something wrong.
Balki, Raja, great conversation. Thank you. I wish Chup a lot of good luck. I'm going to make time and spend money on it. Watch out for my tweet. You've been warned. And I've also been warned, right? There could be, write a review.
Give us a star
no, I can't. I don't like that. I like watching movies and then having conversations. In fact, this is an exception, but I'm glad we could do it. Thank you. I wish you a lot of good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. And watch out for another conversation next week, same time. Goodbye.